Number 17, the physics and theology nerd has a question. In Leviticus 12, women are unclean and excluded from worship in the temple after giving birth. That the time is doubled if the baby is a girl has troubled my wife. Do you know the reason for this? So I don't know the reason for this. I'm familiar with the passage. Okay, so you've summarized it well, the physics and theology nerd. You've summarized it well. The duration that the mother is unclean after giving birth is doubled in the case of a girl. The text never tells us why this is. So some theories are thrown out there by people, right? Like, well, maybe women are just generally more sinful. Okay, but here I already want to pause. There's different kinds of uncleanness. There's the uncleanness of sin, and there's the uncleanness of physical uncleanness that has nothing to do with value, worth, dignity, or sin, for that matter. For a man who has a weird spot on his head, he's considered unclean until you confirm it's not something like that could cause a plague. That has nothing to do with sin. For a man that has, like, if I reach down and touch a carcass, I can't go into the temple. But that's not because I sinned by touching the carcass. Like, you got to touch carcasses in life, at least if you're not American. This is like part of normal culture for most people who've ever lived, is you would just have regular periods of uncleanness. You try to avoid it happening around a time when you really wanted to go to like the feast or something like that. So one of the big problems we have when we approach this is we presume that the woman's unclean because of some sinfulness. But yet the Old Testament frequently uses the term unclean to refer to just a ceremonial uncleanness that is not inherently sinful, doesn't reflect of anything bad about the person or anything that they've done. So is there an Old Testament example of something that might make her more unclean in a ceremonial sense, not a sinful sense, after having a daughter instead of a son? The only thing I can think of that actually connects to the Old Testament in some way is that a woman has a regular menstrual period. And so this might simply be a reminder, right? There's a ceremonial lesson here that the woman who has forgive me if there's kids listening and this is inappropriate. You guys, parents, you gotta be quick sometimes if I don't think about to warn you about these things. So I'm sorry about that. But the woman during her menstrual period, she's has blood, right? And any bleeding of any kind is an unclean maker. Okay, so it's not like this is against her. It's just coincidental that it's blood related. And so when she has a daughter, that daughter also will have that same issue. Maybe there's a connection there. I don't know. I could be right. That's the only thing I can think of that connects. But I will just want to really reiterate this. If we presume that the uncleanness is moral problems with the woman, then we presume something the scripture doesn't say. And it doesn't work with so many other passages. There's places that are unclean because there's like a bacteria that's there. There's places that are unclean because like you can't eat when what's his name? Samson ate honey out of a dead lion. That was unclean. Not because it was sinful, because it's in a dead animal. Like you shouldn't eat. There's a honeycomb being built in the rib cage of a dead animal. Don't eat it. It's tainted ceremonially. Okay.